Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome here to the launch pad, or maybe good afternoon or evening, depending where you're joining us from. Joining us for the second of three launches happening today. We are now 17 minutes, 25 seconds, and counting till launch of SpaceX's Korea 425 mission, launching from Slick 4E at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. If it's your first time joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. My name is Zach. I'm the founder and host here. Here at the Launchpad Network, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow because we believe that space is better together. Take a moment, let us know in the chat where you're watching from. Also, let us know, were you up with us super late last night for the first launch of three happening today, the launch of the Progress spacecraft aboard Soyuz out of Russia, heading up to the International Space Station. If not, make sure you catch the replay. T-minus 16 minutes, 45 seconds and counting. We are waiting for SpaceX to begin their live feed for today's launch, and once they do so, we will, of course, patch them in to see that live view of Slick 4E as they continue to count down to today's launch. Today's booster is flying for the 17th time after previously supporting Crew 1, Crew 2, SXM-8, CRS-23, IXP, Transporter 4, Transporter 5, Globestar FM-15, ISI Eros C3, and 7 previous Starlink missions. Today will be a return to landing site mission, with the first stage returning to landing zone 4 at Vandenberg Space Force Base following separation. So we'll be hopefully having some incredible views of that return here this morning. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, share out the stream, invite people to join us. We should have SpaceX beginning live here in just the next minute or two, as this is a customer mission. On board today, there are 5 reconnaissance satellites for South Korea on board, but there are actually a total of 25 spacecraft on board. On top of those 5 Korea 425 satellites, there's also Space BD's ISL-48, Satales, Micro HETSAT, D-Orbit's Ion, SCV, Daring Diego, York Space Systems Bane, and Planet IQ's Gnome 4 on board. So it's almost like a mixture of a transporter mission meets a actual individual customer. Now, we do not have any information on the countdown timeline provided to media of when payload deployments will occur. And this is, obviously, if this is a reconnaissance mission for South Korea, they're probably not going to want us to know where those satellites are going. So we're not going to actually get to see payload deployment happen here today, but I'm sure we will get confirmation via social media from SpaceX as such. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad. We'll work on answering those live. We do have one more launch happening later today. You're going to have a little bit of a break to go have a nap if you've been up with the first two. That last launch is going to be at 11:01 p.m. Eastern Time, and that'll be Starlink Group 6-3 launching from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral. T-minus 14 minutes to 11 seconds and counting till launch. We're waiting for SpaceX to hit that magical go live button for us to be able to see that live view of Slick 4E at Vandenberg Space Force Base. We did have a tweet from them about an hour ago that things were progressing well and that everything was looking green on the board for today's flight. So that's always a good sign as they continue to work towards another launch. SpaceX is pushing the envelope this year, trying to get to that 100 launch mark. They have launched 89 missions, including Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy, and Starship this year, which means in the next 31 days, if they can see 11, it will be the first time a company has launched 100 rockets in a single calendar year. Including today's 2, we have 8 Falcon 9 missions currently on the launch calendar. A number of those do not have dates yet, so it's going to be tight to see if they can make it. But let us know in the chat if you think they'll be able to. We want to hear from you. Do you think that we're going to get to see SpaceX hit that incredible milestone of 100 this year? Or are they just going to blow and smash it next year and go for like 150 or something crazy? Now, just under 13 minutes and counting till launch. Propellant load is well underway on the Falcon 9. Just a few minutes ago, the second stage's liquid oxygen began loading. The next major milestone will be beginning 7 minutes left in the count. That's when Falcon 9 will begin engine chill of its 9 Merlin 1D engines on the first stage in preparation for today's flight. We're waiting to see SpaceX go live. They did say they were going to, but we have yet to see them do such. Once they do so, we will, of course, patch them in for that live view. Here this morning. If you guys have questions, you can keep sending those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad. We'll work on answering those live. Also, while we have a few extra minutes, consider joining us over in the TLP Discord. That's where a few of us are hanging out for the launch today, so we hope you'll join us there. And also head on over to the shop. It's not too late. You still got a couple days left that you can order anything off the TLP shop and be guaranteed that you'll actually be able to receive it by Christmas. So definitely take a moment and check that out and get one of our limited edition holiday shirts for your Christmas season. SpaceX has finally decided to hit the go live button, so we're going to wait for them to give us that live view of Slick 4E, and then of course we'll listen in to SpaceX Mission Control as we go through the final bit of the count. If you're just joining us though, welcome. We are T-minus 11 minutes, 7 seconds and counting till launch of SpaceX Falcon 9 from Slick 4E at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, launching 25 spacecraft on board today's mission, but the main part of today's mission is Korea 425. This is the first flight of the Korea 425 spacecraft. There's 5 on board, and these are South Korea reconnaissance satellites. So we will not be able to see payload deployment here today due to this, but we will still have a little bit of excitement following launch, as today is a return to landing site. So hopefully it's a not too foggy morning at Vandenberg, and we'll be able to see a beautiful booster covered in soot land for its 17th time, having supported 7 Starlinks and 10 other customer missions, including multiple crew and transporter missions. T-minus 10 minutes, 10 seconds and counting on the clock. As I said, that next major milestone will be them beginning engine chill, Those 9 Merlin 1D engines will begin chilling in about 3 minutes from now. Lots of people just joining us in the chat. Great to see you all. Take a moment, engage that like button. Let us know where you're watching from. And as you can see, SpaceX is getting ready here. We're going to get ready to listen in to SpaceX Mission Control as we continue to count T-minus 9 minutes, 30 seconds and counting till launch of Korea 425 Flight 1, launching from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California on a Falcon 9 that's going for its 17th flight. One of the flight leaders that will be coming back to landing zone 4 at Vandenberg following launch. You can keep sending in your questions throughout the launch by tagging us at the launch pad in the chat. Engage that like button, share out the stream, invite people to join us as we count down T-minus 9 minutes and counting till launch. Listen in to SpaceX Mission Control as we count down to launch of Korea 425 from Vandenberg. Stay with us.
You're looking at a live view of Falcon 9 awaiting liftoff at 10:19 a.m. Pacific Time from Vandenberg Space Force Base, just a few hours north of our headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Thanks for tuning in for the Korea 425 mission, SpaceX's 88th mission of the year and 287th launch overall. My name is Ronnie Foreman, and I'm a commercial sales manager here at SpaceX. Today, we have 25 spacecraft on board for 6 customers, including Korea, Space BD, CTIL, D-Orbit, York Space Systems, and Planet IQ, all headed to a sun-synchronous low Earth orbit. At the request of some of our customers, we won't be showing any second stage views today. So given that, we are going to end our webcast after a booster landing around the 8.5-minute mark. But for those of you interested in learning more about today's payloads and deployments, please head over to our customers' websites for more information. Now at just over T-minus 8 minutes, we are looking good for an on-time liftoff. The vehicle is healthy and the range is ready to support. And while it's a beautiful day in Vandenberg today, we are watching some ground level winds ahead of liftoff, so we'll keep you posted as we move forward in our countdown. The two-stage Falcon 9 vehicle on your screen stands 229 feet tall, or slightly taller than the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Italy. When it's fully fueled, it'll hold just over 1 million pounds of propellant that the vehicle will burn through in less than 3 minutes after liftoff. We began loading those propellants on both stages on the vehicle at around T-minus 35 minutes. Now, starting from the top of the rocket, our 25 payloads today are safely enclosed inside of that 17-foot diameter payload fairing, which is the pointed structure on your screen. Made of carbon composite material, the fairing protects the satellites on their way to orbit. The fairing is then jettisoned approximately 3 minutes into flight. The fairing halves supporting today's
Engines are filling in for flight.
Are flight proven, with one half flying for its 5th time and the other for its 6th. We will be attempting to recover those again today. Now, below the payload fairing, we have the second stage, which is the part of the rocket that will take our payloads to their destination orbit. The second stage will ignite its single Merlin vacuum engine, or MVAC for short, about 2.5 minutes into flight, and then will relight for a second and third time before we deploy the satellites. Just below the second stage, you can see the black interstage, which is part of the first stage booster. The carbon fiber interstage is a distinct black color because what you can see is unpainted thermal protection system, also called TPS. This system protects the composite material used to make the interstage. And at the bottom of stage 1, there are 9 Merlin engines that will get Falcon 9 off the ground and up to the thinner parts of the Earth's atmosphere. Shortly after liftoff, the first and second stages will separate from one another. Then the second stage will continue to orbit, while the first stage will start making its way back down to Earth. The first stage is designed to be reflown with minimal refurbishment between flights. Today's booster is flying for the 17th time. And we'll be attempting to land back on land not too far from our launch site, so you should have an especially good view today if you're joining us from Vandenberg. If we're successful in recovering the booster on screen, it will mark the 250th successful recovery of an orbital class rocket. And lastly, the large truss structure that you see there just to the right of Falcon 9 is the Transporter Erector, or TE for short. You may also hear the callouts on the net refer to that as the strongback. We use the TE both to roll the rocket out to the pad and raise it to its vertical launch position. The TE also routes the vehicle's fluids, power...
Tanks are pressing for strongback retract.
There we go, we're pressing up for strongback retract, which again routes the vehicle's fluids, power, and telemetry umbilicals from the ground systems to the rocket and satellites until Falcon 9 transitions to internal power. At liftoff, it will retract in order to clear the way for Falcon 9's ascent. Those clamp arms are just at the base of the fairing, and we should start to see them open up in about 20 seconds. There you can see the clamp arms are opening in preparation for the initial strongback retract. Now that those clamp arms are fully opened, and you've got that great view of the TE pulling away from Falcon 9. Right now, the first stage is connected to a launch mount at the base of the TE, but the structure is hinged, which is what allows that retraction that we just saw. At T-0, the ground hydraulic systems will pull the TE even further away from Falcon 9 as it lifts off and clears the launch pad. At this point in the countdown, both the first and second stages are nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. The first stage and second stage should finish loading propellant about a minute apart from each other. The first stage will finish up at T-3 minutes and the second stage at T-2. Now, those white clouds that you see around the vehicle are formed as the chilled gas above the LOX tank vents overboard to maintain pressure as needed. When the gas comes out into the warmer California air,
Stage 1 LOX load complete.
there we heard that LOX load is complete on the first stage. And again, when that LOX comes out into the warmer California air, it condenses the water in the air and forms those beautiful clouds that you can see around Falcon 9. We are just over 30 seconds away from completion of LOX loading on stage 2. And at T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon 9 will enter startup mode. This means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers will take over the launch countdown. Just inside of T-minus 2 seconds, we will light the Merlin 1D engines for liftoff.
Stage 2 LOX load complete.
There we hear it, that stage 2 LOX load is complete. All 25 payloads continue to be healthy, and the Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on board the rocket. That venting that you see, again, is totally normal as we vent the TE LOX line ahead of liftoff. And as a reminder, at the request of some of our customers, we won't be showing any views of our payloads today. Live coverage will end after first stage landing and a successful shutdown of our MVAC engine's first burn.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
There's confirmation that F9 is in startup mode. The internal flight computers have taken over the countdown, and Stage 1 and Stage 2 have begun pressurizing for launch.
LD is go for launch.
With that call out from our launch director, we know that we are go for launch. At just under T-minus 40 seconds, all systems of Falcon 9 are ready for liftoff with our 25 rideshare payloads on board.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff. 9, go Korea 425, go SpaceX.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
It is a beautiful day for launch, and Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Vandenberg Space Force Base with payloads for 6 of our rideshare customers on board: Korea, Space BD, Citael, D-Orbit, York Space Systems, and Planet IQ. Now, during Ascent, we tilt the engines. The technical term for this is gimbaling, and that turns the rocket horizontally in what we call a gravity turn. We're still going up, but now we are also heading horizontally away from the launch pad.
Max Q.
There's the call out from Max Q. So moments ago, we throttled engines down in preparation for Max Q.
Nominal.
Good call-outs there that power and telemetry are nominal on board Falcon 9. Max Q is a critical moment during flight because the combined stresses caused by Falcon 9 accelerating through the atmosphere and the ambient static pressure are at their greatest. Now, the rocket typically needs to go around 17,500 miles per hour horizontally in order to avoid being pulled back down to Earth and reach orbit, which is why we perform that gravity turn. You can track our progress to orbit by keeping an eye on the Stage 1 telemetry in the bottom corner of your screen. Now we have 6 events coming up in quick succession: MECO, stage SEP, S1 flip, SES1, boost back burn, start, and fairing separation. During main engine cutoff, we'll shut down the 9 Merlin 1D engines, which is followed by stage separation.
Nominal trajectory.
Nominal trajectory on board Falcon 9. Once separated from the second stage, the booster will flip its orientation and begin heading back to Earth with a short boost back burn, while simultaneously, the second stage MVAC engine will ignite for the first time, followed quickly by fairing separation.
MECO. Stage separation confirmed.
Confirmation of MECO and stage SEP.
And back ignition.
Good call-outs that we've had
Stage 1
SES1
boost back startup.
and boost back burn startup.
Fairing separation confirmed.
So we've heard those call-outs for those 6 events that happened back-to-back and got great views of several of them. That was MECO, stage SEP, S1 flip, SES1, boost back burn start, and fairing separation. We will be attempting to retrieve those fairing halves again today once they fall back to Earth, using our recovery vessel, Go Beyond. Next up, we're listening to hear that we've completed our boost back burn.
Stage 1 boost back shutdown.
Right on schedule. We are just about T plus 3 minutes and 28 seconds into today's mission, and the next critical milestone we're tracking is T plus 6 minutes and 42 seconds, when we expect to have some great views of the first stage's entry burn. For the entry burn, we relight 3 of the M1D
Both vehicles
engines.
remain on a nominal trajectory.
There we hear that Falcon 9 remains on a nominal trajectory. For the entry burn, first we will relight the center E9 engine, followed shortly after by E1 and E5, which slows down the vehicle as it passes back into the Earth's atmosphere. Great views on your screen right now of stage 1 and those grid fins as the booster heads back to Earth. We relight those engines to slow down and reduce re-entry forces, which ultimately helps us recover and reuse the first stage. During the entry burn, Falcon 9 is decelerating by firing those Merlin engines, but we're still moving really fast. This causes the vehicle to fly through Merlin's exhaust gases, also called the rocket's plume. And this deposits a layer of soot on the vehicle's surface, which is why our flight-proven vehicles tend to look so toasty. That soot comes from the carbon-based fuel that Falcon 9 uses. Now, as a quick reminder, at the request of some of our customers, we won't be showing any views of our payloads today. Live coverage will end after the first stage landing and successful shutdown of MVAC's first burn. Just about a minute and a half until we expect to hear the call out that entry burn has begun. Those grid fins on your screen are the primary mechanical mechanism that we use to steer the booster on its way back to Earth. Interestingly, even though they look quite small next to Falcon 9, they are about 4 by 5 feet, so about as large as a coffee table. Of course, we reuse our boosters and fairings here at SpaceX because reusability is a key to lowering the cost of spaceflight, which enables more investments in critical scientific research. Again, the Falcon 9 first stage supporting today's mission is about to perform this entry burn for the 17th time. Great views of the coast of California beginning to come onto your screen now.
Stage 1 entry burn.
Confirmation of entry burn startup. On your screen right now, you have two views of our first stage, one from our onboard camera on the left, and on the right-hand side, you can watch that landing as we come back toward landing zone 4 at Vandenberg Space Force Base.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
Confirmation
Stage 1
of entry
FTS
burn
has
end.
saved.
The Merlins on board the first stage are optimized for sea level. These achieve about 190,000 pounds of thrust during both ascent and descent, while the MVAC engine is optimized to operate in space,
Nominal
producing
trajectory.
220,500 pounds of thrust in vacuum. Coming up next, we'll shut down our MVAC engine on the second stage, followed quickly by our landing burn on the first stage. And as a reminder, we are targeting a land landing at landing zone 4 at Vandenberg Space Force Base today, which is just west of our launch pad.
Stage 1 transonic.
Stage 2 FTS has saved.
Beautiful views
Stage 1
there,
landing burn.
and confirmation that we have begun our landing burn. We're now waiting for Falcon to land back at landing zone 4.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
And there you have it.
Stage
That
1
marks
landing confirmed.
SpaceX's 250th recovery of an orbital-class rocket, including first-stage landings for Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. While the mission isn't over just yet, as a reminder, we won't be showing any second-stage views today, and therefore we're going to end our coverage here. All of us at
And there you have it. Falcon 9 completing its first of 2 flights there today. That booster back on Earth after completing its 17th mission. We'll see if when we get to see it fly again. But that's going to do it. We hope you'll join us in about 10 hours or so for the third flight of today. Falcon 9 launching Starlink 6-31 from the Space Coast in Florida. That's going to do it for us for now, though, from our TLP Canada studio. If you haven't yet, join us over on the TLP Discord. We're hanging out in general comms as kind of a post-launch show. And head on over to the TLP shop. Use promo code LaunchDay to get 10% off of everything over on the store. That's where you can also still guarantee that you get your delivery in time for the holiday season. But that's going to do it for me from our TLP Canada studio. We'll see you later today for the launch of Starlink 6-31 because space is better together. We'll see you then.